Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, not only do we have a new setting, but we have a book review. So let's get started. Okay guys, today we are reviewing a long-awaited book, at least for me. I read it a while ago. Finally reviewing it because I'm slow. We're gonna finally get to know my thoughts and feelings about A Court of Wings and Ruin. So like always, let's just jump in with our synopsis. A nightmare, I told Tamlin. I was the nightmare. Feyre has returned to the Spring Court, determined to gather information on Tamlin's maneuverings and the invading king threatening to bring Prythian to its knees. But to do so, she must play a deadly game of deceit, and one slip may spell doom, not only for Feyre, but for her world as well. As war bears down upon them all, Feyre must decide who to trust amongst the dazzling and lethal High Lords, and hunt for allies in unexpected places. Dun dun dun. Alright, so I absolutely adored this storyline. I loved Feyre pretending that, everything that had happened in the second book was a spell or a trick, and that she really did want to be with Tamlin. I thought she was very convincing. I also loved like her inner snarky monologue of like, are you serious? I have to do this now. I don't understand. I also thought she did a really good job at finding ways, creative, subtle ways, not only to undermine Tamlin, but also to undermine Hybern. I really liked how all the different courts started to come into play. I feel like a lot of times when you have books that have such a massive world, it can be really easy to get lost in the chaos. So I really liked the way that they did that Sarah J Maas did that. I also find it interesting that the war really built into how certain allegiances play out later in the series, because this is not the end of the series, so you kind of get to see, once you've already read it and you keep reading on with the series, you're like, oh, okay. I really liked seeing all the different High Lords come together. I did kind of like seeing Rhys's jealousy, or I guess not jealousy, Rhys's protectiveness over Feyre when Tamlin was around. I really, just the way that he bites back and is kind of like, oh, well, it's not like that with me. And it's just like, get him. Really like the way that the High Lords all come together and how their different powers affect different parts of the war and things that they can do. And that's how all pulled into their strategy, and just how it adds to the plot line. Character development. If you read Sarah J Maas, you know that she builds in extensive backstories and very solid characters. This book is no different with the High Lords that she's pulling in. You are getting backstory, you are getting background. I did like getting to see a deeper look at both Nesta and Elaine, because I feel like in the second book, you almost forget that she even has sisters. So now it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is a thing. And so it's nice to see that there's maybe more to them, or to see that they're not, perfect little people, which I think Feyre felt like they were very shallow, and it starts to come out that like, no, they're not. They just had their own way of dealing with everything. I also was very interested in the mating bond that formed between Lucien and Elaine. And I'll be interested to see how that plays out in the future. Still not entirely sure what's going to happen there. There's just a lot of things that Sarah J Maas has built into her characters that could lead to not only more books, but more plot lines and spin-offs. Although I do need Crescent City too to be here, please. Overall, 5 stars like normal. Love this book. It really is good. If you haven't read this series, I do highly recommend it. If you're not a fantasy person, okay, I understand. But if you're interested, this is classified as an adult fantasy novel and not a young adult fantasy novel. So there are some spicier scenes. Again, when it comes to the classroom, I really wouldn't ever recommend this book series to any of my students. Ow! My poor book. Just because they are young. And I want to live in a bubble where they don't know what any of the smutty scenes means. So, it would definitely not be used in a classroom setting. So, that's A Court of Wings and Rue. 5 stars. Definitely check this series out if you're interested. There's also supposed to be a Netflix show coming out about it, but from the first book. So we'll see how that goes. Not putting my hopes very high. I didn't put my hopes very high for Shadow and Bone, and I was happily surprised. So I'm gonna do that again. And yeah, have you read this book? Do you like this series? Let me know down in the comments. I will see you there. If you are interested in more book reviews, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you can, give me a thumbs up. That way my book review makes its way through the bookish community. Otherwise, I will be finishing out the rest of these books, so the last 2 that are out right now. I'll be putting book reviews up for those this summer, as well as several other book reviews. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And also let me know if there's any videos you would like to see me cover, or any books or any content. Otherwise, keep reading, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!